The mitzvah of Kibud Avayim, honoring parents, is so important. And it's interesting, in the Sefer HaChinuch, that's a Sefer that has a discussion and an essay on all 613 mitzvahs. He gives a little introduction by the mitzvah of Kibud Avayim. And he says one of the most important midos, one of the most important characteristics that a person could have is hakaras hatoiv, recognizing the good that others do for us. As a matter of fact, he writes so strongly, he says it is absolutely repulsive. It's awful if a person doesn't have hakaras hatoiv, he doesn't recognize the good that others have done for him. And that's how he introduces Kibud Avayim. He says we have to be so grateful to our parents. They are the ones that brought us into this world. And when you think about it, they have done so much for us, especially in our youth, when we are so dependent on them. And that's why the mitzvah is such a priority. As a matter of fact, he says something amazing. The Sefer HaChinuch says that when you have hakaras hatov to your parents, you're going to realize how great Hashem is. And through Kibud Avayim, you're going to have kavod of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and realize all the good that Hashem does for us. If you take a look in the Yordea, Siman Reish Mem, there are 25 seifim, 25 different types of laws and hanhagos, ways that we should behave regarding our parents. No one can ever call a father or a mother by their first name, chas v'shalom. You're not supposed to sit in their place. Now we know in the dining room of many homes, the father has a specific place where he sits. That means that throughout the week, if you're doing homework, you can't be sitting in that place. That's not covered. Your father and mother, they have specific places where they sit, and their place is holy. And so therefore, it behooves us. That means it would be so special if we could learn these halachas in Siman Reish Mem and Yordea to understand the importance and the dignity and the respect that we have to have for our parents. Now, for example, it's mentioned, if let's say your father has a specific first name, which all of our fathers do, you have a friend that has that same first name, you really shouldn't be calling that friend in front of your father. Your father might be thinking that maybe you're referring to him, and that would be a lack of kavod. So let's listen to the stories that we are about to tell and realize that in the Aseres HaDibros, both in Parsha Yisro and in Parshas Vaschanan, Kibud Avayim is included, and the reward for Kibud Avayim, there are not too many mitzvahs that it says their reward, but the reward is longevity, arichas yomim. So you could imagine how important it is that the Torah gives us the reward and tells us what's in store for us when we have Kibud Avayim. I'll just tell you one more thing. Rab Shamshon Hirsch asks a very interesting question, and that is, if you take a look at the Aseres HaDibros, 5 on one side, 5 on the other, many people say that the first 5 are bein Adam lamakayim, between man and Hashem. The second 5 are bein Adam lachavero, between man and man, between people and each other. Now listen to this. Rab Shamshon Hirsch asked the question, why then is Kibud Avayim the 5th one on the right side, so to speak? It's not bein Adam lamakayim. As great as our parents are, they're human beings, right? So why is it bein Adam lamakayim? And he says a fabulous teretz. He says, you know why we have the obligation to serve our parents and treat them with dignity and care? It's not only because they take care of us. Dogs take care of their puppies and cats take care of their kittens, right? So even animals take care of their offspring. But because they bring us back to our Sinai, because they teach us Torah, they teach us the legacy of Yiddishkeit, and that's the bein Adam lamakayim, and that's the greatest respect that we should have for our parents, because they teach us what Yiddishkeit and Torah and Yiras Shamayim is all about. Let's remember that when we deal with our parents, to give them the greatest honor and the greatest respect. Enjoy these stories, and you will see how great people feel about Kibud Avayim. The name of this story is The Warm Connection Between a Child and His Parents. All of us who have heard about the great tzaddik, the Gadol Hador, Rabbi Kanievsky, when we think about him, we think about his tremendous avas haTorah, his tremendous yediyos haTorah, and the tremendous amount of learning that he accomplished every single day and every single year. But what I would like to talk about is his relationship with his parents. We all know the story when Yitzchak wanted to give Esav a bracha. Yaakov came in and got the brachas, and now in Parshas Toldos it tells us that Esav now comes into his father. And look at these words, Vayovei la'aviv. He brought the food to his father. Now take a look at it. Isn't it amazing? You can read it frontwards and backwards. If you go to the last letter, the Vav, and you read it backwards towards the front, you'll see that it says also Vayovei la'aviv. That is called in English a palindrome. There are many words that are palindromes. Mom, pop, dad, race car, radar, all these words. But Rabbi Kanievsky said, why did the Torah make these words, Vayovei la'aviv, a palindrome? And he said, you know why? Because the way you treat your parents, that's how your children are going to treat you. Now, Rabbi Kanievsky had a son-in-law, and the son-in-law's name is Rabbi Yitzchak Kalodetsky. I once went to visit him, and he told me an amazing thing. He said every single morning after davening, Rabbi Kanievsky, before he went to the kollel, he would go visit his mother, Rebbetzin Pesha Miriam Kanievsky, the Stipler's wife. This went on for many, many years. And Nebuch, when she passed away, so he stopped coming. A few days later, he met his father, Rabbi Yisrael Kanievsky, the Stipler Rav. And the Stipler said to his son, Reb Chaim, I also used to enjoy when you came. You see, Reb Chaim thought that only his mother would be interested in having a little talk in the morning with her son. He didn't realize that his father also enjoyed his company. Rabbi Yitzchak Kalodetsky told me for the next 12 years, Reb Chaim never missed a morning that he didn't go to visit his father. That was the Kibud. I think there's a great lesson there. We have to give cover to our parents and recognize that they appreciate our presence. They appreciate our calls. I would say, if you can call your grandparents, that's also a sense of Kibud Avim. Call them every Friday to say Good Shabbos. And as you get older, don't forget to always call your parents, because parents love when children have a connection to them. Now, I want to tell you something that is so beautiful. We know that Rabbi Kanievsky had a tremendous love for Torah, avas haTorah. How did he get it? I'll tell you what I think. Do you know that every night when he was a little boy, 3 years old, his father, the Gadol Hador, Rabbi Yisrael Kanievsky, would sing a song to him before he went to sleep? See, the Stipler took a list of all the Mishnayos, from Brachas all the way down to Uktzin, and he made a song. And that's how Rab Chaim, as a little boy, knew the names of all the Mishnayos. And you know something? My son, when he was in the 5th grade, my son, Rabbi Eliezer, his Rebbe told him, you know, when you come home, when you come back from the Sukkot vacation, you have to know all the Masechtas. And he came home and he said to me, how am I going to learn all the Masechtas? There's so many. I said, it's not a problem. We'll make a song. Now, I had no idea that that's what the Stipler did for his son, Reb Chaim. And so I'm going to sing you this song. And I believe that if you listen to this song numerous times, you too will be able to know all of Shas. You'll know all the names of all the Masechtas. Brochis and Peyod, Mai and Klayim, Shviyis and Trumois and Mai Serois. Ma'aser sheni chala or lo bikurim ze seides roim. Shabbos and Erevim, Psochim and Shkolim, Yuma Sukkabeya and Rosh Hashanah. Tainus Megillah, Moed Chagiga ze Seder Moed. Yevamis and Kesubais, Nedarim Nazis Saita. Gittin and Kiddushin,
Ze Seder Noshim. Bava Kama, Bava Metzia, Bava Basra, Sanhedrin, Makos and Shvuos and Eidios, Avoid Zora, Avos and Horios, Ze Seder Nizikin. Zvachim Menachis, Chulin Bechoiros, Echen Temura, and Krisos, Me'ila Tamid, Midos and Kinim, Ze Seder Kochim, Kalim Oilos Negoyim, Pora Taharos Mikvais, Nida Machshirim Zovim, Tful Yom Yodayim Uktin, Ze Seder Taharos, Zroyim Moyed Noshim, Nezikin Kochim Taharos, Ze Seder HaMishnayos.
The name of this story is a most moving bar mitzvah. As we said in the introduction, one of the rewards of Kibud Av Ha'em is Arichas Yamim, living long, having long days. And we will see something now so incredible. This story happened way back in 1938. At that time, Reb Shemaya and his wife Rivka Reichman, they lived in Vienna, Austria. And they were going to make a bar mitzvah for their son Eli. He was going to lane in the Adas Yisrael shul in Vienna. And Motzei Shabbos, there was going to be a big Lava Malka for family and friends. Now, a few days before the bar mitzvah, Reb Shemaya's father, who actually lived in Beled in Hungary, got very sick. And he could not travel to Vienna for the bar mitzvah. And now a decision had to be made. Are they going to make the bar mitzvah without the Zaidi because he couldn't travel? Or just either cancel it or delay it? But you know what they decided? They're going to have the bar mitzvah in Hungary. They're going to take the little boy Eli and some of the family members and go from Vienna to Beled, Hungary, so that the Zaidi could be at the bar mitzvah. What Kibud Av of Rab Shemaya. Beautiful. In other words, he said, the whole party that we have for all the people and all the family, that's not important. What's important is that my father should be at the bar mitzvah. And sure enough, they traveled there. And they had the bar mitzvah where the father was able to attend. Now listen to this. Friday night, they were all sitting at the Suda. And there was a lot of noise outside. And there was yelling and screaming, and it seemed like there was something joyous going on. But the Reichmans, they didn't care what's going on outside in Beled, Hungary. After all, they were Yidden, and they were celebrating Shabbos and the bar mitzvah of the boy Eli, the grandson of the grandfather who had been ill. And then, Motzei Shabbos, they heard the news. Terrible, terrible news that the Germans had invaded Vienna, and they had come into the city of Vienna, and they were taking over in Austria. And so many shuls were ransacked that Friday night. Yidden were hurt, Yidden were killed. And you know something? They were even looking for Rab Shemaya Reichman because he was a wealthy man. And the only reason that they didn't find him and they didn't kill him was because he was in Beled in Hungary. And so because of the mitzvah of Kibud Av Ha'em, his life was saved. And you know something? He never went back to Vienna. His wife and children went and got the children. But Rab Shemaya knew it was too dangerous for him to be seen in Vienna. And eventually, they were able to get out, and they came to Toronto. Now, one of the sons that Rab Shemaya had was the famous Moshe Reichman, who was one of the greatest Balei Tzedakah in the world. A tremendous person who gave tzedakah all over the world. And the only reason that the family was able to survive was because they were away because of the mitzvah of Kibud Av Ha'em. And I want to tell all of you something. You know, it's mentioned in Shulchan Aruch that giving kavod and honor and dignity to grandparents is also part of Kibud Av Ha'em. And I would suggest to every single one of you, every Friday, if you have grandparents, call them, to say a good Shabbos. Tell them what happened. You don't have to have a big, long conversation, but the fact that you acknowledge their presence will make them feel so special. And that's part of the mitzvah of Kibud Av V'Em. Calling grandparents, wishing them good Shabbos, letting them know that you think of them. I can tell you personally, my grandchildren, most of them, they call either Thursday or Friday to say good Shabbos. And my wife and I feel so proud. Make your parents and grandparents proud, and do that every Shabbos, every Erev Shabbos.
The name of this story is A Trip of a Lifetime. I will never forget when my father came over to me in the spring of 1964, and he said to me, this summer you're going to do something that is so special. Agudas Yisrael, the great world organization, is having a Knessia Gedola. That means a great gathering where Gedolah from all over the world and Agudah members from all over the world are going to gather in Eretz Yisrael and Yerushalayim, and I would like you to go there. And I want you to listen to what the Rabbonim, the Gedolim, the Askanim of the world say, and it will be amazing. And then my father said to me, I would like you to do a favor, not only for me, but for your uncle. I had an uncle, his name was Rabbi Elimelech Tress. Many people know him as Mike Tress. He was the executive director of Agudas Yisrael in America. And of course, he was planning to go to this great Knessia Gedolah. But unfortunately, he wasn't well and he was not able to travel. So my father had a genius idea. He said, I want you to take a tape recorder and I want you to visit certain prominent Gedolim and let them make a recording. You record it for him, you bring it back to him, it'll be fabulous. Now, of course, if I was doing this, I was doing it because my father told me, which was an idea of Kibud Av V'Em. And because I went to Eretz Yisrael, and because I went, as my father told me, with a tape recorder, I was able to get into wonderful, wonderful people. I want to tell you one of the greatest Kibud Av V'Em things that I ever did in my life. You see, when I was in Eretz Yisrael, in those years in 1964, very few people had telephones, forget about cell phones. So my father would write me and my mother would write me every day and I wrote them back. And my father said to me, you know, I heard somebody wakes up people for slichas. It would be so special for me if you would go and record how this old man wakes up people for slichas early in the morning. You know, when I got the letter, I was thinking, is this guy still alive? And I went to a few people. Some say it was alive, some say it wasn't alive. They weren't sure if he did it or not. Well, I took a friend of mine and we went in the dark to a place called the Bukharian Houses. All of a sudden, I hear in the distance somebody saying in Yiddish, Stei toiv fasliches, Stei toiv fasliches. That means get up for sliches. I ran over to this guy. I said, look, my father asked me that I should please record. He said, there's somebody that goes and wakes up people for slichas. Do you know who that could be? He looks at me and he says, that's me. I said, wow, that's amazing. Could you please, I have to do this for my father. I'm leaving Eretz Yisrael in 2 days. Could you please record it? And he said, okay. And he goes like this, and this is a Mishnah in Avos. Yisrael am kodesh, shtei toif la'avodas haboirei, rotz katzvi v'gibor koari, la'sois ritzoin avicha shebashamayim. Yisrael am kodesh, shtei toif la'avodas haboirei. Then he turns to me and he says, okay? Oh, was that okay? That was the most okay thing in my life. My father listened to that without exaggeration over 100 times. Now let me tell you what it means. Yisrael am Kodesh, Yisrael the holy nation. Shteit oif, wake up, la'avodas haboirei, for the service of your Creator. Now this is the Mishnah. Rotz katzvi, run like a deer. Gibor koari, be strong like a lion. Lasois ritzain avicha shabashamayim, to do the will of your Father in heaven. That winter, that was the first time Rab Shalom Shradron, the Maggid of Yerushalayim, came to America, and he stayed in our home for 6 months. And I remember shortly after he came, my father said to Rab Shalom, I want to bring you back to Yerushalayim. And he put on that recording. Rab Shalom started crying. The tears were coming down his cheeks. He said, "Oy, I remember when that man was a young man. I was a little boy, 5 years old, and I used to hear him sing that and wake up the people for slichas. And after he finished, I rolled over my bed, I put my blanket over myself, and I went back to sleep." He said, but that was such a precious memory, how this man would wake up people for slichas. And what a beautiful thing that is. That's how people would get up for slichas in Elul, in Yerushalayim HaKodesh. And that was one of the greatest mitzvahs of Kibud Av V'Em I was ever able to do. And I'll tell you something, my mother loved it as well. And every morning after that, when I came home, she would play that on the intercom system to wake us up. That's how we woke up every morning. The name of this story is a very bright idea. We all know that Rabbi Kanievsky was the Gadol Hador, the greatest Talmud Chacham of his time, and he wrote many, many Svarim. And there were people, wealthy people, who many times gave Rabbi Chaim money so that he should be able to publish his Svarim. And they gave him money so he would be able to give out to poor people and to those who needed it for whatever reason. Now there was this gentleman, let's call him Rab Zalman, and Rab Zalman was very close to Rab Chaim, and he appreciated that Rab Chaim accepted the money so that he'd be able to print his Svarim and give out tzedakah. 1 year before Hanukkah, he brought a beautiful menorah to Rab Chaim. He had spent a lot of money on it. It was a shiny silver menorah, very tall and very elegant. And Rab Chaim accepted it, and the man was very happy. But as Hanukkah got closer, Rab Chaim realized that he had a certain problem. You see, Rab Chaim's wife, Rebbetzin Bat Sheva Kanievsky, her grandfather was Rab Aryeh Levine, and he was a great, great tzaddik. Everybody knows the book A Tzaddik in Our Time about Rab Aryeh Levine. And Rab Aryeh Levine had given Rab Chaim and his wife, that was Rab Aryeh's granddaughter, for their chasaneh, had given them a menorah. It was a simple menorah, but it was a menorah that they could use outside to light Hanukkah licht. And every year up to that point, Rab Chaim always used that menorah, not only to honor his wife, but to honor his wife's grandfather. And we know honoring a grandfather is also part of Kibud Av V'Em. But now what was he going to do? This wealthy man had gotten him this gorgeous, beautiful silver menorah, and he would probably come by to see if Rab Chaim was lighting that menorah or if that menorah was lit. And Rab Chaim came up with a great idea. And he said to his Rebbetzin, look, I am going to continue my minig of using the menorah that your grandfather, Rab Aryeh Levine, did. And I want you to be yotze with the bracha that I'm going to say. So now, after I finish lighting this menorah from your grandfather, you're going to go with a whole group of women and light the other menorah. And that will be Parsumei Nisa, because everybody will see that you are lighting this beautiful menorah. And when this man comes by and he sees the menorah being lit, or the menorah standing wherever it is, and it's lit for Hanukkah, he'll feel very special that we in the family honored him by using his menorah. What a bright idea that was of Rab Chaim, because he still wanted to do the Kibud Av V'Em of honoring Rab Aryeh Levine by using that menorah that he gave him, but yet he didn't want to insult this person, and so he had his wife light that menorah. A great idea for Hanukkah, and a great bright idea for Kibud Av V'Em.